A tumultuous week in terms of the BSR TCR, a week in which tempers flared, a lot of clarification was needed, and now racing becomes a lot more edgier than it has been in a very long time. We are here at Donington Park Racing Circuit, the national layout for this one, the shorter 3.15 kilometre 10-turn layout, and qualifying currently underway here on Forever Sim Racing as rounds 10 to 12 get yourself underway here, starting with qualifying action. It's Jake Sperry with Caitlin Penny here in the commentary booth. On cameras for you, Marco Barbanera, brought to you, those cameras, by Dougie Beard, the best in the business. Of course, a massive thanks and a shout out to those who get it done for us. Firstly, to Force X Design, who have been absolutely fantastic with the way that they have been able to work on the graphics for us. And of course, to Violet, that you've heard at the moment. Buy her stuff on Bandcamp, or you stream it on Spotify. But this is qualifying. This is where you start to make your challenge over the course of the season. At the end of this 3 rounds of racing here, Caitlin, it's 1/3 distance in the championship. That's where we draw the line and say, opening of the season is done. We know where the form book rests.
Yeah, and it's still very, very unpredictable in terms of the championship. We've seen drivers who we thought were going to be competitive getting shunted down the order several times throughout the course of this series so far, and I'm sure that the order is slightly different to how a lot of people would have expected. However, despite all of that, 2 main teams have come out on top so far, the XV Racer Squad and Team RSO. Both of those drivers have 3 in the top 9, so looking very, very strong. Interspersed with entries from BritTech Simsport, Team Momo, and others amongst those. Sight Energy with Ashley Beard currently leading this qualifying session as well. So racing is unpredictable at the best of times, and this, the BSR, is the peak of unpredictability.
It certainly is. Josh Thompson, first start of the season, puts him on pole position, 111.779. Had a very, very good showing, joining the Logitech G Altus esports team last night when it came to Petit Le Mans and the big event that happened on the iRacing Esports Network. We'll keep an eye on those times as they continue. They'll be up on the left-hand side of your screen. But the title challenges at the moment, it's worth talking about the tables and especially the drivers' standings at the moment here, Caitlin. 96 points, the lead for Cedric Nebelshek over Nicole Foggy. It's a big, big margin, and effectively a race and a little bit more he has in pocket. So he knows that if he can just stay second to Nicole Foggy the entire way around for quite a number of races, he's still got the lead for the majority of this season.
Yeah, Nebelshak scored a huge number of points last time out over his rivals, simply through staying out of trouble. In all 3 of the races, he stayed out of the incident, cleared the traffic, and got through to the front to score, I think, a double podium, although he was very close to the podium in the other race as well. Definitely my driver of the day last time out. And also, Haase moved up into 3rd place in the championship with his win in race 1. So a couple of changes in the order last time, but for Nebelshak, just kept his nose clean, and if he can show us that more times this season, he is going to be pretty unstoppable.
That he is. We move over to the team championship at the moment, and Ren Sport Online broke the deadlock after 6 rounds worth of racing. Their lead could have been a lot more, but instead it is only 37 points, and most of those points have gone away in the form of penalty points here, Caitlin, because of Robin Haase and a couple of incidents that he found himself in the opening race of the night 1 week ago. So RSO should have a much bigger lead in the championship. They don't, because the penalty points don't lie.
Yeah, 37 points is the difference at the minute between Team RSO and XV Racer. In terms of a team's championship, that's really not that much. As I said, they both got 3 drivers in the top 8. I said top 9 initially, but it's actually the top 8 with Nebelshak, Haase, and Carstensen for RSO, and Foggy, Brandon, and Brown for XV Racer, and I believe both of those also have, well, one of those at least has another entry at some point in the order. But whatever the case, Yeah, definitely, definitely the teams championship a lot closer than the drivers championship at the minute. But I do still think that it can all change because we saw last time out just the number of incidents and twists and turns in terms of the order and the story of the races. To be honest, I really don't think that anything is done and dusted quite yet.
Well, something that is ever changing is amateur category. Now, of course, a lot of drivers after Road America getting themselves promoted because, of course, in this championship at least, this is run on your fastest lap time. And if your fastest lap time is within a certain percentage, you have a much greater chance of being promoted up to the pro category. So both James Leggett and Rich Haynes find themselves with a promotion. Julian Janowski is included in that as well, which means that now Optical have a double at the top, 1 and 2. Charles Kellyman, with the Jamaican flag next to his name, finds himself at the top, 37 points clear of Andy Maxwell, his own teammate. So those two will be working together to get themselves away from Anthony Jacobson in third and Carl Hardy, as Result Clothing might want to try and make a challenge.
So Johnny Brandon has just gone to the top of the order with a 1:11.298. So some quick laps coming in at the minute, and so far it's Brandon from Foggy up the top there. So two XV racer drivers, and then Beard in third place for Sight Energy. They're followed currently by Holmes and McNally, and those are the top five as it stands. But it's a very short lap here at Donington comparative to some of the other tracks on the calendar, meaning you do get quite a few attempts in qualifying to improve on your lap and make your buffer greater.
Certainly do, and this is something worth talking about. It may be XV Racer 1 and 2, but 3, 4, and 5 are all Excite Racing. So they are looking at Excite Energy thinking, okay, well, they are going to be the big challenge at the moment. Haven't seen anything yet from Ren Sports Online. Niels Carstensen is 10th position at the moment. Robin Haase has not set a time, and Cedric Nebelshek has set himself a 1:15.9, which is not a representative lap time, and that's all the way back in 32nd position on the outside of the 16th row. Now, that tells me quite a few things about this, Caitlin. One of the things it tells me is that Cedric is maybe testing a few things, hoping to get those tyres up to temperature and very quickly. Another thing it tells me is off-track instant points. The moment you step a couple of tyres off into the grass around certain areas of the track, that is a lap abandoned, and that can be so disastrous for the longer that things go. Nebelshek waited a long time as well, heading down the Craner curves, looking to pick up his teammate Niels Carstensen so that he has some draft to get himself up through the order, chase down Johnny Brandon, who set his time in Foggy Draft.
Yeah, and draft does help you at some points on this circuit. Oh, as he dips more wheels into the grass, he might lose it here, does Nebelshak. That, oh my
Using
word, he's off
handbrake
into
clutch.
the gravel. So not the greatest start to the session for Nebelshak. He's currently in 32nd position, so needs to set a quicker lap. This is the championship leader that we're watching here. But as I was going to say, draft does help you at some points in the circuit, notably this this straight here, as you go over the crest of the hill, although the rest of the track is very bendy, very fast, very flowing, especially the Craner curves in 12 hairpin. You won't want to be behind another car through there, partly just in case they make a mistake, and also partly because the turbulent air is going to be unsettling your car. However, because this is and he's going to lose it again, so Nebelshak's not even going to set a lap this time round either. He's off into the gravel. Is Nebelshak actually going to get a chance to set a representative qualifying time?
Well, the good news is he's got half an hour to set that time, and 12 minutes of that time has already been locked off the clock. So either his setup is very tail happy, or that something's clearly not right with that RSO machine, something not wrong with the pedals or the wheels, and it's not too unfamiliar with Ren Sports Online and technical failure. Of course, you have to go all the way back to 1 year ago at the big Sim Racing Expo, where effectively they had to start shifting up during the ADAC GT500 using the keyboard rather than the pedals, rather than the shifter. Shifters broke on their wheel and their rig. So they very much have been in this situation before. The Nebelshek keeps having issues, now needs to find himself something to work on very quickly. Otherwise, it's going to be a very long race for him. get over to the end. Keep an eye on other people who are doing well in qualifying at the moment. Chris Dane is in 9th position for the BritTech Sim Sport team, and he's 2,000ths clear on a 1:11.9 of Julian Janowski, who is inside the top 10. You've currently got 5 drivers on a 1:11.9. That just tells you how competitive this field is today.
I think this may be Nebeljek's last chance here because the tyres don't tend to last that long when you're running at qualifying pace in a TCR. He's got a car immediately ahead of him. I believe that's one of his teammates as they go through the Craner curves. And out through the old hairpin, he's going to get balked on the exit.
Oh, Daniel James there for the BritTech Sim Sport team just ran himself a little wide through the old hairpin, was trying to keep it on the island. I think both were on representative lap times, and the Belshek's got to make sure that he didn't make any contact there with Dan James going through that section, or that lap will not count for him down in 33rd place. So the championship leader in trouble at the moment when it comes to qualifying as the cloud cover comes up over, and there is a mostly cloudy track today. It's 37 degrees at the moment when it comes to the track temp, which is quite average at the moment, has to be said, but for a morning condition, I have to say that is a fair bit. We'll watch Nebeljek over the line. We won't focus on him all the time, I promise you, ladies and gentlemen, as Niels Carstensen has gone 8th. That is a 1:11.6 from Nebeljek. Pressure was on him. He's up to 4th.
Yeah, and I expect without that instant, he could have possibly got into the top 3 there. He may get one more chance if he's still got the tyre life for it. But currently, he's sitting behind Brandon, Foggy, and Beard in the order. All 3 of those, I believe, are also going for other laps. Foggy's in quite a lot of traffic. Beard has some clean air here, so I'm wondering what Beard's going to achieve from this lap. And I've just noticed that the car immediately ahead of Foggy on this lap is Johnny Brandon.
It is, because Johnny Brandon's going to give Nicole Foggy the draft, as is the XV Race away, as Josh Thompson moves up into 4th place, 1:11.514. That's good enough at the moment to place himself there on the 2nd row, but there is no security guarantees. He wasn't happy earlier on with one of the Year 1 racing boys. That was Carl Jacquelet earlier on as he was making his way to turn 1. Of course, it's a very difficult corner, Redgate corner here, Caitlin, but we have to really talk about pit exit. Drivers want to come out and get onto their outlaps, but you have to remember it comes out right onto the braking zone into turn 1, which makes finding a space to get out on track mighty difficult.
Yeah, it's a dangerous pit exit, and I've seen definitely a few close calls already in this session. You'll notice as well as that there's also no pit exit lines, so really it's not a safe pit exit in the slightest, and ideally should be on the other side of the circuit. I'm kind of confused as to why it isn't, but anyway, that's the Wheatcroft Straight that they come out on there. Just heading up to Redgate, and it doesn't make it any easier that Redgate is actually a very difficult corner in itself, so all of your concentration down there is going into setting yourself up for turn 1 and getting the car in, because it's going to want to understeer through there. It's a corner that tightens as you go around it, and that looks as if it's going to be a lesser corner than it actually is. So as a result, they have to be focusing on the apex, then the exit, and that means that if a car's coming out of the pit lane, sometimes you're not going to see it until it's too late.
Very much aren't. Of course, drivers do have their relative, which they can keep an eye out on to see who is down the road and who is stopped or slow or anything like that. As currently we find ourselves over half distance. This is how the field stacks up. So it's XV Racer 1 and 2 with Johnny Brandon and Nicole Foggy. Cedric Nebeljek has moved up to 3rd on a 1:11.422. He'll be happy with that. Ashley Beard in 4th place with Josh Thompson rounding out the top 5 from 5th to 10th, 6th to 10th. Brian Holmes, Adam McNally, Niels Carstensen, Julian Janowski, and Dan Brown, as I just get a look behind. And Dan Blake in the Year 1 car move himself up inside the top 15. He's got a race win to his name, and he'll be very happy with that inside of the top 15. But it is a very, very close top 15 here at the moment, because if you look for 1 second at the moment on track, the top 22 drivers that split themselves by a second. These sorts of tracks with a lot of elevation change, a shorter lap really does bunch times up together. 22 within a second means that reverse grid racing, which we'll get for races 2 and 3, will definitely be difficult tonight.
Yeah, and of course we have a very random way of selecting the reverse races. Quite literally, we basically pull a number out of a hat, and then that number of cars is reversed for the starting order of the next race, which just keeps the field close, keeps the championship unpredictable, and allows for excitement and drivers who we know are quick and we know are race contenders having to fight through from quite a way back in the order. And a very unique feature of this series is that that can be a variety of numbers from I think it's from about is it from about 5 right up to the maximum
It's from
for
10.
yeah, from 10. Okay, so yeah, from 10 right up to the maximum, and I believe we have 38 drivers here today. So
See how that one plays out for the future. 38 drivers means that if at any time that 40 comes up, it's going to mean that that will be a full reverse grid. No, come rain, come shine for a lot of drivers. A lot of teams trying to work together here, and that includes the XV Racer boys, because you've got Brandon and Foggy Baxter and Brown all together in the same train, all looking to try and gain their time. So that's what Steve Baxter is going to have to do in the 888. He's currently in 10th position as he looks to try and improve his times at the moment. Little slide through Redgate Corner, heading through Hollywood and the Crane of Curves coming up next. Always going to be an interesting one for 888. Try and make that push through and try and get those times, and actually struggling ever so slightly in terms of the laps. I'm surprised that one of the drivers who's yet to set a lap time at the moment, 394 machine of Robin Haase, and I'm just going to try and have a little look of my own to see if he finds himself in session at the moment. He does, but I don't think he's actually gone out to set any representative lap time as of yet, so he's leaving it very late. Or actually may have a qualifying ban to his name, which I think might just be the way forward for that. So we haven't actually been informed on who has penalties and bans, etc. From things. What we do know is that Robin Haase is not set. Get some words out, Jake. Has not set a time as of yet. We expect that to be a qualifying ban, and of course, John Roberts is out for an entire race meeting, so that's not going to be helpful for the gentleman who got caught for ungentlemanlike conduct, so to speak.
yeah, so I expect that means that Has is well, that'll be for a penalty last time out to Road America. Potentially the one with in race 1, which gave him the race win. Although to be honest, I don't think that deserved a penalty. However, I'm sure the stewards have looked at it more thoroughly than I have. Whatever the case, he is still in the pits as it stands at the minute, as well as Robert Lundgren, Paul Burgess, and Joe Mitchell, who also didn't set a time in practice. So I'm not sure if Joe Mitchell is going to be out on track at all, but whatever the case, those drivers at the back of the order so far, and 34 drivers have set laps. I have noticed that the entire field is separated by roughly 1.8 seconds at present, which, for a field of this many drivers, isn't really that bad.
That much at all, and that just shows you how aggressive and how difficult racing like this can be as you try and get those times in as good as you possibly can. Across the line goes Steve Baxter, and he jumps up to 7th place on a 111.6. That's very, very strong in terms of that time, and that puts 3V Racer cars, XV Racer cars, sorry, up in the top 7, and they will be very, very happy with that level of improvement there as they continue to put and set some lap times with the cloud cover over. That cloud cover, though, Caitlin, very crucial. It's going to cool this track down, and when the track is cooler, the tyre and track temperatures are cooler, those times are going to be quicker, and this is where drivers need to be out on track trying to set some very electric lap times as everyone looks for a drafting partner try and go through. As everyone looks for improvements, you've got a lot of team trains going together. You've got Ayers Hefford and also Kip Stevens, who's just been recruited actually to join the Momo team, all together, all trying to set those times. It's currently Stevens who's the quickest of the lot, though, in 12th place overall. You've got in front of him Steve Hefford in 15th and Jamie Ayers in 14th. So Momo really occupying the mid part of this grid.
Yeah, the weather is actually very good for touring car racing. As a touring car racer myself, I very much do not like it when it's too hot because the tires tend to overheat and you don't really know um, exactly what's happening with them. But with the colder conditions, you can just push that little bit harder without having to worry about the tires quite so much. And that's especially prominent in these front wheel drive TCR cars because you get so much understeer and so much wheel spin some of the time that the tires just tend to boil beneath you and melt like chocolate. That is, unless you have a bit of cloud cover. So the drivers will be reveling in these conditions, and this will probably be the fastest they can go around this circuit.
And they don't have long at all. Only 6.5 minutes remain here in qualifying, and every lap now becomes vital. It is going to take 4 or 5 laps to get up to temperature, especially in the cooler conditions. That's the only caveat which is going against drivers. It's the fact that it is going to take a while to get these tyres to work up to temperatures. Nebelshek's last lap was a 111.3, but a slower 111.3 as Nicole Foggy goes fastest by 5 thousandths over his teammate. Got the drop from Johnny Brandon, and he got the lap he wanted. 5 thousandths as Nicole Foggy, who is, I think, 100% at the moment here in qualifying. He's there again.
Must be quite a mixed bag of emotions for a driver when you drag your teammate through to pole position, because on one hand you must feel very achieved that you've got a 1-2, but there's always going to be that racer's instinct just nagging at the back of your mind, like, hey, you just threw away a pole position for yourself, right? But whatever the case, yeah, good luck from Foggy there to go to the top of the order by 5 thousandths of a second ahead of Johnny Brandon. And so far, those drivers are about pretty much 200ths of a second faster than anyone else's laps. So with just 5 minutes remaining in the session, we're running out of time for that to change.
Certainly are running out of time to see that change. Only one Evolution Racing Team driver here today. That is Andrew Woodhouse in the number 23. I wouldn't be surprised to hear that Adam Bath is still stuck with duties at the moment with the late kickoff between Newcastle United and Manchester United. Adam Bath, of course, working as part of the Manchester United team, and he will not be very happy at the fact that they lost 1-0. Sorry, spoilers. But Andrew Woodhouse currently in 27th position, heading through the final couple of corners, heavy over that first anti-cut curb and out of the way of everyone else. So he'll dive down onto pit lane and try and get himself fresh tyres and out again for a very late time. Johnny Brandon down on pit road, as is Anthony Jacobson as well. But it's all about who can find those little bits of improvement at the moment. McNally, I think, is done a really good job inside of this top 10 to be up there. He has been fantastic in terms of getting good qualifyings in. The Toonside boy must be reveling in other results here today, but McNally in 6th place at the moment knows that he's really helping an Excite Energy team, which has really dropped off because of the fact that Brian Holmes has only turned up for 4 races out of the 9.
And Holmes currently going very, very strongly in 8th position. Getting a little bit of slipstream from the car ahead here. He's just about to complete this lap, so let's see what he can do this time around. If he can go for 2 quick ones in a row in the number 58 car, taking a lot of curb there through the chicane. You can do that. These touring cars are designed for being driven roughly, such as that. And that was not a quicker lap from Holmes there, and he's going to struggle to sell a quicker one this next time around as well, with that car plastered right in front of him and another one in his mirrors as well. But yeah, going very well in 8th position and chasing down in terms of times Steve Baxter in the 888.
Well, behind him is Peter Van Gool, and he just jumped inside the top 10 on a 111.7. He took full advantage of the 2 Excite cars going together, and McNally is going to peel off here and say, I don't think you're going quick enough here, says Brian to Adam. I'll go and get my time in and try and make sure it works. 2.5 minutes left on the clock. You are allowed to finish your lap once the checker goes. That's the final lap that you've got, and you've got to make sure you make it count. Foggy, Brandon, Nebelshek, Beard, Thompson, your top 5 at the moment, and the top 15 split by just 7/10 of a second overall as they push the likes of Lee Deemer, Jamie Ayers, likes of Kip Stevens, all in the mid pack, as well as a lot of drivers on a 112 flat, which include two of the Boost Ted boys, Sean Gardner and Adam Hedgecock as well. Foggy's down on pit road. Johnny Brandon is out of the car, so he won't be going any quicker, and there's probably not enough time to get out and get those times in. That will help. So they'll be stuck on what they've got, which means here, Caitlin, for the final minute and a bit, Nebelshek's got free reign to try and snipe pole position.
Nebelshek out onto the Starkey Straight. He's got a car directly behind him. He's also got a decent, not decent, but a very distant slipstream from the car ahead, heading down towards the chicane. I'm not sure that he's on a quicker lap this time around, although I think he's setting up for another attempt. So Nebelshek currently third in the order. One of the only drivers who looks strong enough here to take it away from those top few, Foggy and Brandon of the XV Racer team. Starts another lap. Let's see what he can do with this one.
They cross the line with a minute 15. They've got two laps to try and make it work. So Nebelshek backs off of it. He's done. He was trying to help Carstensen out in terms of his times. He's in 9th position. Get as many team members in as possible because Robin Haas is so far back. Drivers like Janowski slow at the moment, as is Michael Bingham. Josh Thompson found that one out very much the hard way, trying to get through his lap time, having to be abandoned as the 2-year 1 cars cross the line. Jacqueline and Dan Blake, do they find themselves with improvement? Dan Blake doesn't, nor does Carl Jacqueline. They have one more opportunity. 30 seconds left on the clock to cross the line, and the line is late here at the circuit of Donington Park. Steve Hefford crosses the line on a 1:12.9. He'll look to set a big lap time then as he goes through. 20 seconds now. And in through goes Adam Hedgecock, Josh Thompson, Julian Janowski, all looking for draft. Hedgecock crosses the line, 1:12.8. No improvement for him as he looks to try and get on with it. 5 seconds to go. Mitchell crosses the line. Then Carstensen crosses with a second to go as he crosses, and he doesn't set a time, so he needs this one. First across the line is Craig Harris on a 13 flat. He was on the outside looking in. Sean Gardner, 21st at the moment, 1:12.1 for Booze Ted. Crosses himself through the final chicane, dives down onto pit road. Andy Maxwell, second in the AM category championship, looking for improvements, down in 31st position. 1:12.5 is best. He does not find improvements. 1:12.7 only was the time he could find. Blake overshoots the final corner. He will not find improvements. Well, what about Wouter van Essen? Really struggled here today in qualifying. You always expect him up inside the mid-pack. Back in 30th place. Well, scratch that. He's just moved up to 26th on that, a 1:26.4. Charles Kellyman does not find improvement. The AM category leader with a really poor qualifying by his standards. What about Adam Hedgecock, though? Stayed on his lap. He's gone straight on. He doesn't have a lap time in his pocket. Niels Carstensen, though, we focus on him, weaving a little bit on the straight. I think that's indication that his lap time has not gone the way that he's wanted to as he heads through the final chicane. It hasn't, and so one vehicle to cross the line will be Joe Mitchell. We'll see if he finds improvement. He does not. So this is the grid. Stacks up for round 10 of the championship. It's Nicole Foggy then on pole position, and all XV Racer front row with Johnny Brandon alongside Cedric Nebelshek. The championship leader starts from third, Ashley Beard in 4th place. It's Josh Thompson in 5th, his first start of the season, with Adam McNally in 6th. Baxter goes from 7th with Brian Holmes in 8th place. Niels Carstensen will start this one from row 5 with Peter Van Gool alongside.
Daniel Brown makes up 11th position, followed by Julian Janowski, Kip Stevens, P13, then Chris Dane, Steve Hefford, Jamie Ayres, Lee Deemer, Dan Blake, Craig Harris, and Carl Jacqueline.
21st is Sean Gardner as the drivers start to grid up here 2 minutes. They have Adam Hedgecock in 22nd. Then you've got Martin Sampson and Daniel James, 23rd and 24th. Benjamin Mears and Wouter van Essen, 25th and 26th, with James Leggett and Jim Flanagan, 27th and 28th. The top 30 rounded out by Michael Bingham and Andrew Woodhouse.
Andy Maxwell is P31, followed by Joe Mitchell, who did manage to make it out and set a time in the end. Anthony Jacobson is P33, followed by Charles Kellyman and Scott Malcolm, who was the last driver to set a qualifying lap. And then we had 3 drivers who weren't able to set laps. Robin Haas, who will have to start from 36th position if he can start. Then Paul Burgess and Robert Lundgren rounding up the field.
Well, that's going to be very difficult for them, and it's a long road for those at the back. And as we've said so many times before, this is all about this first race working out in favour. Nebelshek and Foggy have been going at it all season long, and it has been Cedric Nebelshek who's got the better for the moment. Not necessarily in race ones, but in races 2 and 3, they have been the better prodigy at the moment, the RSO team. So what can the XP Racer boys do? Foggy and Brandon, who was ceremoniously dumped from the lead pack at round 7 of the championship just a week ago, needs to find a bit of sanctum to move on forward. Josh Thompson, always the anomaly there on the outside. You've got to remember Adam McNally as well. And you've got 3 Excite Energy cars all in a row on that outside line. They'll be trying to work together to move themselves further forward through the field. Just 20 seconds then before we get ourselves to grid up procedure here. Out on track, right at the back there, Robin Haase, who will be waiting right from the end and will have a long road to make a way up through. There's the green flag, and let's get ourselves underway then, here for 15 minutes in race number 1, and it's a slow start from Thompson, who struggles, and that's Baxter going through the middle. Nebelshek already aggressive to the inside, trying to split up Johnny Brandon and Nicole Foggy, and he's got the job that he wanted down the inside, and he's got it. Thompson shoves out Baxter to dry, and he will lose a handful. More than that, a baker's dozen worth of positions on the outside of Redgate. Down the Craner curves, they come for the first time. Foggy, followed by Nebelshek, followed by Johnny Brandon in third, who's looking for a plan, and it doesn't seem like there's any dramas going through the old hairpin side by side. Jamie Ayers Peter Van Gool going at it here with Dan Brown on the outside, but he's got the inside coming into McLean's, and now the Brittech car beside of Chris Danes is going to try and get in along with Janowski.
Steve Hefford went very sideways there. He's now dropping a lot of positions with the yellow-wheeled car. Good save from him, actually, but has lost a lot of time. Although I was surprised, and very, very nicely so, by how clean those first couple of corners were, despite the fact we do have a few drivers on the grass. No properly major incidents as we reach the end of the first lap, and we'll be able to talk you through the 4 order.
Yeah, we certainly will, and it is, of course, Nicole Foggy who leads this one by just a little bit, just a couple of car lengths. He's got at the moment that gap only half a second, almost 6/10. Johnny Brandon under pressure. This is Ashley Beard, and they're fighting against each other in the championship. Ashley Beard had a terrible weekend last time out in terms of his pace at Road America. Wants to pull himself back into formation here at wonderful Donington Park. Down the hill, he comes along. Behind that, Josh Thompson under pressure as Brian Holmes wants to try and find a way through. You're not going to find a way through at the old hairpin, though. It's always very difficult. And wide goes Johnny Brandon in front, and that puts him under all sorts of pressure here from Beard, who thinks about the inside up at McLean's corner and doesn't choose to make that move just yet. So waiting for the opportunity, can't afford to drop the 2 up front.
James Leggett just went off through the Craner curves, and when he came back on the road, made heavy contact with someone and went for a big spin. I believe it was Dan Blake he made contact with. So Leggett dropping a long way down the order in that, as at the front still Foggy continues to lead from Nebelshek. Nebelshek getting closer in the braking zone for the chicane, and it looks to me as if he's going to have a little run here up towards Redgate.
Whoa, Niels Carstensen go careful through the final chicane. Think he may have got a shot there at the back from Baxter. Did get help through the corner. He's done well to save it. Had to serve the slow down penalty, though. And you can see on the outside an Excite car also having to struggle then going through that section. I wonder who that was. Saw Dan Brown earlier on run himself into Adam McNally, who has dropped himself a whole heap of time because he found himself going through the final corner. And I think he had his own issues as Andrew Woodhouse has his own. A slow down penalty then for Adam McNally costs him as well, and he drops behind Niels Carstensen, who served his better. So that pack now led by Kip Stevens, ever the consistent at managing finish races, but it leaves 6 up at the front and a lot more in a chasing pack here. Stevens has Baxter, Janowski, Dima, Harris, Carstensen, McNally, Gardner, and Dan Brown all there trying to get past him.
Little mistake there from Brandon. He ran through the grass and now Beard is right on his tail, getting very, very close. Looked to me as if he was going to lose positions for sure, but just managed to recover in time. And I don't think that he managed to go all four wheels off, even though it looked as if he was heading off into the undergrowth. Whichever the case, continues in third position, doesn't lose a place to Beard in the end of all of that. And the top six appear to be breaking away now as Thompson and Holmes follow them through. The field scrap behind them.
Certainly do. They've got themselves 5 seconds to keep Stevens behind, so they've got a lot of time, and it's 3 packs of 2 that head down the Craner curves. Foggy and the Belshek, Brandon and Beard, Thompson and Holmes, as they all go through and they all look for a little bit of help out there to try and make those moves. It is a difficult place to overtake this national layout. You've only got 1, maybe 2 real chances to go out there and make some moves. You've got to go and make them at places where drivers don't expect you. Maybe up at Coppice Corner if you're very, very brave. And that might be what Nebelshek was thinking of there as he has a look in the mirror of Nicole Foggy, trying to psych him out and make sure he makes a mistake. No dice then at the moment. And I wonder here, Nicole Foggy wants to back Nebelshek up slightly into one certain Mr. Johnny Brandon. That might be useful. On the brakes they go. No chance to make the move. The train very much formed then. Draft Central comes into play, and on cue, Nicole Foggy now has a train of 4 as Thompson runs wide in the background, and that's not going to be useful. He did it all on his own. He got a big chunk of curb, tried to save it, grip not there, and he's in the gravel, kitty litter, and out back in 6th place.
Well, I do think that Nebelshek did actually have an opportunity to get past Foggy into the chicane that time around. He appeared a little bit indecisive as to which side of him to go. Obviously didn't know quite where Foggy was going to go, and in the end ended up applying the brakes significantly early before the corners. So possibly just had a little panicky moment there and decided that discretion was the better part of valor. But that's definitely not going to be his last opportunity, because he is properly hounding Nicole Foggy here. Foggy sees him in his mirrors, and as they head out now through Coppice and towards the Starkeys Strait, I'm expecting another challenge here from Nebelshek.
Wide through the apex there was Nicole Foggy, and this might just be the time which Nebelshek could strike here. Thinks about moving to the inside, and you know what? Thought better of it this time by. I don't think you're going to get many better chances at that section of track. And again, chicane, Foggy, very, very good, very accomplished through that section. Your leading 4 are the top 4 in the championship. They were all, apart from Robin Haas, so these are 4 of the top 5, in the championship. They will all work hard together to try and gain those positions and to try and get what they need out of this one. No changes then as they will head down the hill once again. Niels Carstensen, front of him is Adam McNally trying to get away past Craig Harris, who's having a good run, as is Lee Deemer, who a lap ago tried to get past Janowski. Janowski now looking at Kip Stevens thinking, I've got a good chance of making this move. Down the Craner curves you come along. How brave are you going to be at the old hairpin? Not enough here on Kip Stevens, though, so he'll have to play the sit-and-wait game a little longer.
So Foggy, followed by Nebelshek, Brandon and Beard go back through Coppice, back onto the Starkey Strait, and now we go through Coppice, and it looks to me as if they're taking slightly different lines there. Foggy wider, Nebelshek tighter, and Nebelshek, despite that, has got a run on the exit. And 2 laps in a row, he seemed quite indecisive down here. What does he do this time? Foggy shows him the rear of his car, tries to unsettle him again, but Nebelshek, well, keeps his cool, doesn't go off or do a silly dive bomb maneuver. Meanwhile, Holmes has just lost place to Thompson further back, and look at Brandon coming through maybe.
Oh, a chance. Not quite there, but this is what Nicole Foggy wants, to start seeing drivers get aggressive, and he's made a mistake through Redgate Corner. This is going to allow Nebelshek here a chance to try and attack down the Craner curves, and I think he's going to think better of it here into the old hairpin. On the brakes they go, no chance of making the move. So that was the closest yet that we've seen from them. Brian Holmes, yes, did make the mistake, did drop the position overall. That was through the final corner. He caught the grass on entry to the Goddard chicane and went straight across it, had to try and save it, and he's done very well to do so at that point in time. But your front 4 still there waiting. What about Ashley Beard? He's stuck in the catbird seat. If you talk IndyCar, he's waiting for the right time to pounce, as you would do in an Indy 500. But again, Nebelshek, a great run coming through Coppice Corner, looking to the Goddard chicane, thinking about how do I make the move and how do I go down the inside. He's going to bump draft him all the way down and say, you know what, I need a little bit of gap see if I can make this move. Half distance already score complete then in this race. You've got to start thinking about how you make the move now as they weave across this straight. And do you dare go for the inside? He thought about it there, did Nebelshek. Has to go a long way around now at Red Gate Corner or try and get it up and under on the exit. But again, Nico Foggy is wise to the move.
Yeah, that was all to do with Foggy dipping wheels into the grass on the exit of the final corner there. And I was sure that Nebelshek was going to have a better attack than that. He was so close. And Foggy just, again, keeping his cool, but almost didn't there towards the end of the last lap. Nebelshek seems so much faster than Foggy coming out of Coppice and onto the Starkey Straight pretty much every time. But at the end of the Starkey Straight, just can't convert that into an overtake because you have to be so far alongside your opponent to make that work through there. It's a very fast chicane relatively for how tight the corners are, and as a result you very much have to be single file through there, and that's where you need to get ahead in the braking zone ideally. Meanwhile, he's going to come under bigger attack from Johnny Brandon here. That was close, and Nebelshek going to take a lot of curb.
He is, and so is Johnny Brandon. This has put him as under pressure. Look at that, hard to the inside. Making the move is Ashley Beard, and Johnny Brandon lets him have it there. That's very telling in that scenario. So Ashley Beard moves up to third place. Johnny Brandon did not want to fight one iota there with Ashley Beard, who now has to stay with Nebelshek and Foggy, and all of that coming from Cedric Nebelshek struggling for the first time today through Coppice Corner. But still, we got battling a little further back in the pack. Janowski and Stevens going at it down the crane of curves, and they're followed by two Excite cars, Lee Deemer and Adam McNally. And are they going to manufacture positions with each other here, the two Excite boys? No, they're not. They are battling hard, and look at that, straight up down the inside as Deemer runs wide. Thank you very much. Adam McNally moves himself up into 10th place.
Yes, he does. Deemer down to 11th now, and they're not too far ahead of Craig Harris, as it is either. Really, a very long chain of cars there. Niels Christensen getting involved as well. Of course, he's on a bit of a recovery drive, as he qualified well, but has already dropped 4 positions in this race. I have to point out, actually, that Craig Harris has made up 7, as has Lee Deemer, although he's just lost 1. So a couple of big movers and big losers at that part of the order, and Christensen on a little bit of a recovery drive gets over the dirt and loses a bit of time as we have moves going on ahead of him.
Yes, we do, and Niels Carstensen will know that he's got to get through the pack. Lee Deemer again going aggressive here. McNally having to defend from his own teammate was probably not part of the script. He wants to go out and attack Kip Stevens, and Julian Janowski get a little bit more for the Excite team, which currently has 1 vehicle in 3rd and 1 vehicle there in 6th place in the form of Brian Holmes. So there's still time, there's still opportunities to make those moves, but they've got to be quick in the way that they manufacture those, as still Ashley Beard under pressure. Johnny Brandon might want to come back here because they have actually dropped the train. They're over 1.1 back now from Cedric Nebelshek, and Ashley Beard knows that he's now not thinking about moving forward. He's thinking of holding on to a podium place here in round 10 of the championship, as here comes Johnny Brandon moving down to the inside just like that. He gets the move sorted. Was he too heavy over the curves? He's absolutely fine though. He's up back into 3rd place.
So those two have swapped places 2 times in the last, well, almost a lap there, a lap and a little bit. So Brandon now up into 3rd. They've lost quite a bit of time to Foggy and Nebelshek, who are now just
look at McNally.
Oh yeah, McNally there on the back of Kip Stevens, and they're going almost 3 wide into Redgate. Surely that's not going to work there. That's Deemer on the inside, and it's all going to... Oh my word, who's that going off? That is...
Stevens. So that's Janowski and Stevens. Janowski there in the middle then, getting caught up in all of that. McNally was very ambitious going to the inside. There was a lane. Did get himself alongside, a bit of contact. Janowski has to go straight on, and Kip Stevens unsighted, has nowhere to go in all of that. At the same time, Niels Carstensen, there was more contact for Janowski down at the old hairpin, but Niels Carstensen was trying to find a way past Chris Danes. He couldn't find it, so that's big in terms of their battle going on. But we look to the front of the pack now, because there will be 2 laps to go when they cross the start-finish line, and Nebelshek has brought that 0.6 of a second gap back down in half. He's taken a couple of laps to cool the tyres down, and now he's got 2 laps to make the move.
2 laps remaining. with Nebelzhak stuck to the back of Foggy's car. The gap was less than 3/10 of a second there as they crossed the start-finish line. Now down through the Craner curves again, Nebelzhak bided his time for a little bit after it all kicked off, although he is right back on the tail of his rival again. These two, of course, first and second in the championship, and Foggy will be quite desperate to stay ahead of Nebelzhak here because he will want to claw at least some points back on his rival. There's 96 points separating them in the championship, but at the minute only 0.2 of a second separating them on the road. So those are two very valuable tenths of a second to Nicole Foggy, which he is going to defend with his life.
Oh yes, it is, and there will be one lap to go when they next cross the line, and Nebelzhak struggled a little bit heading through under Starkey Bridge up towards McLean's, but he's able to gather that time back up through the second half of the lap. On the brakes you go, and there's not many chances left as the white flag comes out and one lap remains here at Donington Park at round 10 of the BSR TCR here on Forever Sim Racing. What can Cedric Nebelzhak do to get past Nicole Foggy? A half look at turn one does not manufacture anything. That gap now under 0.2 when they cross the line, and Foggy's got to defend this one as hard as he possibly can. He's thinking desperately about how he claws down the gap in the championship. He knows he needs to claw down the gap in the championship. To do that, you've got to beat the 393 and through the next right-hander at the old hairpin. It's all very nice and dandy. Little bit of grass on the exit. That's okay. He can get away with that. He's got a car length and a half to work with as they make their way up through McLean's, and Nebelzhak again not in many good positions to go and make those moves, but he's got to have a fantastic coppice as he has so many times before. Beard is fading in the background with Josh Thompson, but still through that right-hander, and for the first time in a little while, Nebelzhak does not get the best run heading through Coppice Corner. Now just the chicanes to go for Nicole Foggy. The Scotsman in the 66 now just has to hit the braking zone absolutely fantastically. Deep on the brakes there goes Nebelzhak, trying to get the run to the line. He doesn't get the best exit in the world, and holding on by a hair, Nicole Foggy picks up the win, and he'll be so happy with that one. They're on for fourth place, and it will be Ashley Beard who just takes it away from Josh Thompson at the line. Some brilliant battling, and it still goes on to the end because you've got the likes of Danes and Carstensen going at it side by side. That will be Danes who will pick up that one overall, and Robin Haase has pulled himself up through the field from almost dead last up for a top 15 finish. If that's not damage limitation, we saw none of him in that race. I don't know what is, Caitlin.
Yeah, Haase doing a great job there, making up, that's 21 positions. Very nice there from Robin Haase, and I'm expecting more from him in the next couple of races, especially if he gets to start in a good position for race 2. But what a race-long fight we just witnessed between Foggy and Nebelzhak right until the end. Nebelzhak doing a big drift there through, I'd say power slide, but it's not a rear-wheel drive car, so that's not a power slide, it's just hanging the tail out, does it again through Coppice. Celebrating, despite, oh my word, almost crashing into Foggy, and they are going to collide and go off the road there. That's a little bit clumsy, but the race is finished. Whatever the case, very, very exciting race there between Foggy and Nebelzhak, who spins. And I'm looking forward to seeing more of that in races 2 and 3.
I think Cedric Nebelzhak has found a handbrake button, and he knows that if he wants to play with it, he's got every jurisdiction to do so. But crossed the line, and these are classified results. It was Nicole Foggy who picked up the win in 15 minutes and 42 seconds. His win, 3/10 over Cedric Nebelzhak, with Johnny Brandon finishing in third place. Ashley Beard would get fourth in the end, but he had to hold off Josh Thompson as his tyres died towards the end. Brian Holmes rounding out the top 6. Steve Baxter, a good 7th place for the X3 Racer boys, with Adam McNally in 8th, making himself friendly with the neighbours. Lee Deemer, his teammate, in 9th position, with Craig Harris rounding out the top 10.
Sorry, P11 is Chris Danes, followed by Niels Carstensen, Adam Hedgecock, Dan Blake, Robin Haase with a fantastic recovery drive to P15 there, followed by Kip Stevens. Actually, I'm just going to quickly point out that Adam Hedgecock climbed up from P22 to P13 as well, so that's very nice from him. P17 was Julian Janowski, followed by Daniel Brown, and Carl Jackler was P19, and then Jim Flanagan, P20.
Benjamin Mears up 4 places to the end in 21st. Martin Sampson in 22nd. Scott Malcolm gets 23rd with Wouter van Essen. Struggling here today. It's 24th only at the moment with Joe Mitchell 25th and Jamie Ayers back to 26th. He's joined with Steve Hefford, his teammate. So Momo did not have a good opening round, but they're hoping for a big reverse grid. Paul Burgess gets 28th, Michael Bingham and Anthony Jacobson rounding out the top 30.
31 was Andy Maxwell, followed by James Leggett, Daniel James, Sean Gardner, and then I'm afraid we did have some DNFs. Charles Kellerman was 2 laps down at the end there, and Andrew Woodhouse retired 13 laps from the finish. And I believe that Robert Lundgren didn't even start the race, so 37 started, and it seems that 56 saw the checkered flag, at least 56 did, on the lead lap.
I don't know how you get 56 from
37.
Sorry,
I'm looking at Sean Gardner's number. Okay, 35 cars finished on the lead lap, not 56. That's just Gardner's number.
There we go. And of course, Charles Kellerman and Andrew Woodhouse struggling with the disconnection issues as they both went very early in the opening laps. But what we're going to do right now here on Forever Sim Racing is get up a magical thing known as a spinny wheel. What we're going to do is we're going to spin that wheel, and wherever that wheel lands is going to be the grid inversion for round 11 of the championship, which comes up after this next break, which is coming up. Our good man, Marco Barbanera, who's been doing the camera, spins the wheel for us now, and we're going to see what the result is on the wheel. It's a 35-car reverse grid, and well, that's absolutely perfect because 35 cars finished on the leading lap. So Sean Gardner's got a pole position. They move on forward. Another big race 2 reverse grid. That's 4 in a row that we've seen. We're going to step aside here with Forever Sim Racing. We'll be back with more after this. Welcome back here, ladies and gentlemen, to the British Sim Racers TCR Sunday Cup. This is rounds 10 to 12 of the championship, the fourth meeting of the 12-meeting season here at Donington Park Racing Circuit, the national layout, the small one, the one which everyone loves to see. It comes touring car racing here on Forever Sim Racing. It's Jake Sperry, joined alongside by Caitlin Penny in the camera's position. For us at the moment is Marco Barbanera. The camera's designed by Dougie Beard. And of course, a massive thanks to Forcex Designs, who have done the graphics for us, as well as, of course, Violet for her music. Catch that on SoundCloud and on Spotify, and SoundCloud Bandcamp, sorry, and on Spotify. And of course, all of this on Forever Sim Racing. Caitlin, a clean race one, barring one or two incidents here and there. But again, it's a big reverse grid, 35 to the reverse with 37 drivers. It's a pretty big reverse grid to be having, but as we know, it's all about the start in these vehicles, and where people came unstuck at Road America was a track which was at best 3 wide, and at best you got vehicles who are 2 seconds slower off the start because it's very difficult to launch a car that doesn't have a clutch.
Yeah, of course, they're not using a clutch here today, and as a result, it's very difficult to judge the start, to judge the RPM that you're using, and as a result, you do often get drivers pulling away a lot slower than others. We saw that causing issues last time out. And well, it was a very clean race one comparatively, definitely the cleanest BSR race that I've seen so far. I'm expecting that's probably going to change at the start of race 2, unfortunately. But anyway, it's going to present an interesting challenge for the leaders. They're going to have to get through the field, get through any instance cleanly, and they have to do that from 33rd, 34th, 35th positions on the grid. So it's going to be an interesting challenge for them, and also for the drivers who finish further down the order in race 1, and therefore are starting near the front of race 2. They've got a lot of defending ahead of them, I expect.
They certainly do. Of course, this is the second of two 15-minute races that you'll see. And of course, round 12 becomes a 30-minute long race out on track, which is always going to be a little bit tougher for everything to work in your favor. But we saw how it was a 1 minute 10, 1 minute 11 lap time. Expect those lap times to go up here in terms of the racing action, because the track temperature has gone up here to 41 degrees here on the road, which is bordering on a hot track. You sort of look at anything above 40 to say, okay, these are hot track conditions, and you now need to try and battle as hard as you can, not just with the drivers in front of you, but to try and keep the tyres in check as well.
Yeah, it's definitely something that you have to think about with front-wheel drive cars, the tires, because the front tires do tend to go off relatively quickly. Of course, I believe we are running the tire model version 7, which is the best tire model to date in iRacing. So we don't have that many problems with temperature as we used to. It's much more realistic than it used to be. But still, it's something that you've got to keep in mind, and something that you are potentially going to have to nurse over the course of the race, especially since Donington has a lot of very fast sweepers and tighter, faster corners such as Redgate and Coppice.
And these drivers know that they have quite a similar style of circuit coming up in a week's time, because rounds 13 to 15 of the championship head to Road Atlanta, which is always going to be a big challenge for everyone to try and get right. Road Atlanta is, of course, the place that everyone was trying to drive just a day ago at Petit Le Mans, and the iRacing Petit Le Mans as part of the World Tour event. But Caitlin, we're about a minute away now from going to the race grid, but what are you expecting here from the second race, apart from the obvious, so to speak? How do you think Nicole Foggy is going to respond to Cedric Nebelshek, who has been fantastic this season at dicing through fields early?
Well, Nebelshek is going to be starting one position ahead of him, of course, meaning he'll actually be on the row ahead of him, since it was an odd number that was selected. And that does mean that, first of all, Nebelshek will Nebelsiak will reach the traffic first, so he'll have the first job to cut through. And for Foggy, I'd probably try to follow Nebelsiak through until the last few laps of the race, when then he can possibly have a chance to get past Nebelsiak. Either that or hope that Nebelsiak gets caught out by another driver. But yeah, of course, they're going to be starting from 34th and 35th on the grid. It's going to be pretty much impossible for them to win this second race. They just have to make their way as far up the order as they possibly can to try to get into a good starting position for race 3.
Certainly do, and of course practice all but over. The grid, which will be quick fire, ran by myself, will be as follows. And the grid looks like this. Sean Gardner will be on the pole with Daniel James alongside, with James Leggett and Andy Maxwell on the second row. Row 3 will see Peter Van Gool and Anthony Jacobson, Michael Bingham and Paul Burgess on row 4. Steve Hefford and Jamie Ayres, watch out for them on row 5, with Joe Mitchell and Wouter van Essen in 11th and 12th. Scott Malcolm, Martin Sampson, Benjamin Mears and Jim Flanagan make 16. Carl Jacquelet, Dan Brown, Julian Janowski and Kip Stevens make the 20. Robin Haase, Dan Blake, Adam Hedgecock, Niels Carstensen, followed by Danes, Harris, Deemer and McNally. Steve Baxter, Brian Holmes, Josh Thompson and Ashley Beard, Johnny Brandon, Cedric Nebelsiak, Nicole Foggy, 2 at the back, Charles Kellyman and Andrew Woodhouse, who didn't finish on the leading lap. 2 boosted cars inside of the top 3. Optical, you got Brits Simspot in there as well. Couple of Momo cars wanting to get in. Van Gool was really up there in qualifying. Watch out for him as well off of the start. 1 minute going to be coming up then on the clock. Lights on top of the iRacing gantry. Round 13 of the championship is round 11 of the championship is underway. What a good start from Gardner, slow in the middle, as that's going to be one of the Momo cars finding an easy way through. That's with Paul Burgess here, and Steve Hefford getting a good run as they go into turn number 1. Unchallenged then is Sean Gardner, as Dan James battles it out then for second place on the outside with Andy Maxwell. He does well and goes around the outside and does pretty solid job, and there's the accident right in the middle of the pack. Jim Flanagan turned with Kip Stevens in the Momo car. How good's the rejoin? It's good enough as they head themselves down the Craner curves for the very first time, and they've done well to avoid it to only be a 3-car incident. 1 vehicle slow through the old hairpin. That's one of the Brittech cars. I think that's Dan James. It is. It's going to really struggle here to get the power down up the hill.
Yeah, James and Maxwell came together while fighting for second there. They also went off into the grass, so there were a couple of incidents in the mid-pack, and that gives Sean Gardner some breathing space for now. We've got James Leggett in second position, and there's more carnage. Who is it?
We've got Jim Flanagan. Oh, Woodhouse has had a massive cop into Chris Danes. He lost it on his own, and Danes got a massive hit on the inside, which is not ideal. So dramas already. Crucially, Foggy and Nebelsiak have not made much progress with each other, and Johnny Brandon there in front of them. So there's all lots kicking off then in the mid to late of the pack as they battle a lot harder, a lot further up the field. But at the front, it is a Booze Ted 1-2. Sean Gardner, James Leggett. Then you've got Peter Van Gool and Steve Hefford, a Momo 3-4, and now 5 as Jamie Ayres goes down the inside of Paul Burgess, makes the move. Jacobson there, contact in the background though. Michael Bingham getting himself involved, and there's a vehicle spun just behind that as well. Quite catch who that was. There's one in the grass, that's Martin Sampson. So drivers going off, and we're having a few incidents here and there, but nothing too dramatic at the moment. But the top 5 very much as they were at the moment. As a slowdown for Anthony Jacobson out on track, costs him a position. Through goes Wouter van Essen and more.
Further back, Nebelsiak and Foggy have made their way through the traffic absolutely excellently. They're up into 21st and 22nd position, with Nebelsiak still ahead of Foggy, and they've both passed Brandon James and all of that as well. So jumping up plenty of positions.
They are, and around the outside there goes Nicole Foggy, trying to get past Cedric Nebelsiak here. They've got Baxter as well, so this is team warfare here. Not helping Cedric Nebelsiak, who's going to be boxed in on that inside, trying to make that move. Baxter not going for the move on Adam Hedgecock in front as they run through, and that is going to be position. Staying side by side between them, though, for the time being. We'll keep an eye out on that as they go through. Another mistake for Peter Van Gool in 3rd place, though, and Steve Hefford is going to get a freebie as he goes down the inside. Van Gool struggling on the cold tyres here, trying to get them up to temperature. He'll get him up a bit quicker, but he's not getting much luck and much love at the moment as Scott Malcolm comes under pressure here from Adam Hedgecock a little bit further back. Not finding it. Michael Bingham just in front of that, though, at the old hairpin, gets overtaken by Niels Carstensen. Carstensen trying to push to get back to his teammate Haase at the moment, who finds himself in 7th place, I do believe. No, sorry, 8th place at the moment, out on track as he works his way with Dan Brown up through the field.
Yeah, sorry, I made up a new person just now. I meant Johnny Brandon, not Brandon James, who simply doesn't exist in this field. I would have the case. Yeah, Steve Efford now up into 3rd position. Oh, actually, dipping wheels into the grass going down the straight. That was weird. And Peter Van Gool might be back on top of him. Sorry.
Nebelshek's just had an incident with Steve Baxter. It was big. It was coming under Starkey's bridge. They came together through the corner. A little bit of netco contact, I believe, but Nebelshek was hard to the inside. And just like that, he lost a whole boat full of positions. And he's just managed to escape through an incident at the final corner. One vehicle's turned around. It's Brian Holmes, who has had a massive, massive moment. I think he ran into the back of one of the Year 1 cars. He's late on the brakes. He slid it, and he's just cracked the back of Carl Jackalette, who survives unscathed. So that will make Graham Sessford very happy, team boss over at Year 1. So they'll continue to go through, but keep an eye out on Paul Burgess at the moment. He is the big bottleneck at the moment here for Robin Haase, Dan Brown, Josh Thompson, who's made a great start to this race, and Julian Janowski here. They can't find a way past Mr. Burgess as down the inside goes Van Essen, and he's found what he's wanted, as has Josh Thompson, who just takes Dan Brown with a bit of contact as well and gets the move sorted.
Yeah, gets the move sorted, so it's all changed further back. But at the front, Peter Van Gool has had another couple of swipes at Steve Hefford, not able to quite get past him yet as we head towards another lap of the race. They're fighting for P3 at the minute and actually have a relatively clean road behind them as well. Jamie Ayres a little way back, although none of the faster drivers actually challenging them just yet. So this is the fight for the podium at the minute as the others try to make their way through. Robin Haase just made up a load of positions on that last lap as behind him Thompson and Burgess go side by side, and Burgess is going to get Thompson on the outside of Redgate, I think. Turns in for Craner Curves and he's made it stick.
He has, as here is Dan Brown. Oh, there's contact, round they go! And Paul Burgess takes the scariest crash at the moment, all the way down the Craner Curves, twice into the wall. Dan Brown gets a bit of contact as well, and he will get almost turned as Niels Carstensen gets out of the way. That was with Benjamin Mears there, so they came together, and that wasn't brilliant. Now focus to the front of the field, because you've got Van Gool and Hefford, who actually are not catching James Leggett and Sean Gardner, who lead this one 1 and 2. Gardner from pole position holds a lead of about 1 second at the moment at the front of this one. They will continue to have their battle all the way through here with racing that is going to be going on, and there is no changes of position just yet as they make their way through Goddard chicane. But a little bit further down, this is Benjamin Mears under pressure. Carstensen down to the inside trying to make the move sorted. There's Nicole Foggy in the background trying to find a way through, and look at that, bit of contact round the outside of Mears, and he gets the move done. So there's a freebie for Nicole Foggy, who's desperately trying to break away from Cedric Nebelshek, who's 5 positions back, but he has got 2 in the sight straight away. Do you dare thread the needle here, Cedric? No, he thinks about going down to the inside of the pair of them to make the move. That was not a wise choice.
Yeah, I had to back out of that there. I just caught that out of the corner of my eye and thought there was going to be contact. Slight contact there between Nebelshek and I think that's Jackalette that he's... no, Colette's just in front of them as it stands. Oh, Malcolm, and who's that making contact? Someone being spun around. Not Adam Hedgecock. Who was that there?
I did not catch it, but I've seen Scott Malcolm, and I think it was Adam Hedgecock, actually.
It was Hedgecock, okay.
Turned around, that wasn't ideal. I also saw contact in the battle for 2nd place overall, and that was between Steve Hefford and James Leggett. Hefford had a massive slide, and that allowed Van Gool, his teammate, through. So Momo 3rd, 4th, and 5th at the moment, and they're trying desperately to gain some positions here. James Leggett is defending fantastically, and this is allowing Sean Gardner just to run his own race at the front of the field. He's got 2 seconds to his name and half of the race left to go. That's how good he's being at the moment. Niels Carstensen fighting hard with Nicole Foggy, who's through on the inside and has got the position and moves up into 11th place. So this is a good meeting at the moment for Nicole Foggy, and he's thinking about a top 10, which is currently his teammate Dan Brown that he's trying to get through. But you've got to remember, Carstensen will be fighting against. Here's James Leggett in the grass, and he will lose At least 3 positions there. Got a tap from Van Gool down the hill. We'll just gently move to the outside. And now the Momo boys can start fighting with each other. Ayres is going to go down the inside of Van Gool, move up into 3rd place. And Sean Gardner now has to run for the hills.
Yeah, Leggett just dropped it slightly wide there and dropped back several spaces, and through into 2nd now has gone Steve Hefford, who started the lap in 4th, and then it's Ayres in 3rd, and Hefford down into to 4th. Van Gool now down into 4th position. Coming to the end of that lap, we'll see the order update itself.
Oh my goodness, Thompson's gone straight on. Josh Thompson goes straight on with Robin Haase, who was involved in an incident earlier, and it's such a similar accident to what happened at Road America as they headed through. You had Haase there who had no real braking zone. He didn't give himself enough room with Thompson, who broke earlier, who took a big tap, a big slowdown penalty, and I wonder if Thompson should protest that because Robin Haase again has found himself a position with the push to pass.
Yeah, well, we do have stewards who look into the incidents that take place and are reported after the race meeting is done. So if he does feel that he was wronged, then he can protest that, and the opponent may have to take a penalty of some sort. But whatever the case, the race continues for now, and they've both lost quite a bit of time in all of that.
Cedric Belchek trying to get past Ashley Beard a little further down, and that's going to be difficult because Ash Beard was very much even. Excite Energy versus Ren Sports Online. Look to the outside at Coppice, never the right place to make it, but look at this. Trying to find a way through, gives him a shot, saying, give me room. And room being given then as Nebelshek gets down to the inside here of Ashley Beard. Contact, but that is touring car contact between the pair of them. On the brakes they go, down the inside. Cedric Nebelshek gets the move done and moves himself up one more into 14th position overall as they scrap it out a little bit further through the order. Sean Gardner pulling away, his gap now 3 seconds at the front of the field. 2nd, 3rd and 4th, all between Momo drivers, all have to be sorted out between them. Josh Thompson and Robin Haase, too. The sequel will be coming along in a little bit as well. So we'll keep an eye on all of that going on as Nicole Foggy has caught the back of Van Essen, Brown and Janowski. And this will be for 10th, 9th and 8th place overall on the road. Wherever you look inside the top 10, apart from 1st and 5th, there's a battle.
So again, still the battle for 2nd, 3rd and 4th. Oh, look at that, further back. Haas and Thompson going at it up into Coppice, and Haas having to back out of it just now. So Thompson actually getting through there up into 6th position. These are the two that came together a lap ago, and was that maybe Haas dropping back to let Thompson back through maybe?
No, I don't think so, because he was immediately back on the offensive trying to make the move. It didn't work. Look at these boys fighting amongst each other, the Momo boys. They've allowed James Leggett back into the conversation with 4 minutes to go. On the brakes goes Leggett, deep on the brakes against Peter Van Gool. Has he got it sorted as Ayres and Hefford go at it together, and they are going to remain side by side, 2 by 2. Noah's Ark down the Craner curves, and just like that, Ayres gets his position, as does James Leggett as well. So Leggett now breaks up the train in 4th place and now thinks about there's a podium in the offing, but both Thompson and Haase are chasing this pack down along with Janowski, Brown, Foggy. You've got Van Essen there, Carstensen on the back as Nebelshek finds a way through past Benjamin Mears pretty quickly down at the old hairpin. You don't make them often there, but Nebelshek does. Every which way you look, there's battling with not many laps to go. The powder keg is loaded. Just wait for it to explode.
Yeah, this is another one of those very, very tense races that looks as if it's about to erupt. Not that it hasn't had its fair share of eruptions already, of course, but you know what I'm saying is Leggett there touches. That's Steve Hefford, is it?
Yes.
So I think Hefford's made a mistake and dropped back slightly. Oh, and he gets run into from behind there by Josh Thompson. And Thompson's now going to lose the place to Haas and all of that. And it looks
look at
he may
Haase.
try to go 3 wide into turn 1. That hasn't worked so far in this race. It's Haas on the inside, then Hefford and Van Gool. And Van Gool may get run out of road here. And look at this through on the inside. Is that it's not Janowski, someone else coming through and getting involved?
Yeah, watch Janowski. Janowski and Brown, and those two having a great battle. So Haase gets 3 for 1. Brown thinks about coming back at it, but he's got his teammate behind in Nico Foggy. Josh Thompson is ready to make some moves. He's thinking about going around the outside of Hefford, who doesn't give him the channel to decide it's time to do that. Up at McLean's, they come along, and on the brakes, can Josh Thompson make the move? Josh Thompson can, so he gets what he wanted then and moves himself up into 5th place. All of this happening behind Gardner, who leads this one by a monster margin. Ayers in 2nd, Leggett in 3rd. Haase now up into 4th place overall, and Belshek trying to chase onto this, but he's going to get no love here as he's way too far back. But for the time being, they'll cross the line. There's 2 laps to go here at Donington Park in round 11 here of the championship. Round 12 coming off after. But look at this. Vangel's going to have to defend hard from the Bulgarian Janowski. And look at this. Dan Brown thinking about getting in as well. It is the Netherlands versus Bulgaria on the brakes into turn 1. And still, Vangel holds it.
Oh, slight touching there behind. Janowski there pushing Van Gogh through the corner, desperate to find a way through. And as they head down through the Craner curves, this is a very difficult and very dangerous place to be touching the car ahead, as we've seen plenty of times in this race so far, with 2 separate major accidents at that part of the course. Now out of the old hairpin and up towards... Sorry?
Watch second, here's James Leggett, contact, and both of them go off. Leggett and Ayers go off, and Haase a free ticket to 2nd, Thompson a free ticket to 3rd, Hefford a free ticket to 4th place as they go through and they join them. Foggy gets another position, so vital for the championship. Round goes Van Gogh, gets turned by Janowski, and it's all kicked off with a lap and a bit to go for Sean Gardner, who leads this one outright. Still though, they continue to scrap. Haase in 2nd, and 3rd is still Josh Thompson. Behind, Leggett finds a way through, and Janowski loses 2 positions as Carstensen goes through as well. Nebelchik desperately trying to get to Wouter van Essen and gain 1 more as they fight on the final lap. Haase having to go defensive, and he's got Josh Thompson there covered into turn 1. They've all got him covered into turn 1, but Foggy gets past his teammate on the last lap. Now the Momo boys have to fight hard to stop Foggy gaining any more momentum and traction as Gardner heads through the old hairpin. Does Josh Thompson look at the old hairpin on Robin Haase? No, he does not. But out of the old hairpin, he's got a stormer of a run, and now he's going to try and fight for the inside at McLean's corner. There's nothing between them as they go up 1 line only for Josh Thompson. And they get a bit of contact. Maybe revenge for last week for Robin Haase, who drops the position, and Thompson gets a freebie through. Ayers under pressure now, as through will go Nicole Foggy. Up through at Coppice, and can Brown follow him? I think he maybe can, but for Sean Gardner, he's got a corner to go, and he will come across the line and go from lights to flag in BSR TCR in a reverse grid race. Sean Gardner wins for Boosted here at Donington Park. It will be Josh Thompson in 2nd, Robin Haase will get 3rd, and a drag race for 4th because Steve Hefford is under pressure from Nicole Foggy. Can he get 1 more? No, he can't. He was short by half a tyre as he crossed the line, and that was magical racing. Ultimately, come the end, Nebelchik can only manage 11th place, drops 6 places, and that is going to be some big points to lose overall in terms of racing. Wow, what a race we've just seen.
Yeah, totally. Fantastic drive from Gardner. Remember, he only finished 35th in race 1, so he did a fantastic job to hold onto that lights to flag victory. And you have to feel that he may have been caught up in some kind of incident in race 1, but whatever the case, crosses the line ahead of anyone else as Thompson and Haas fight behind. And I must say, fantastic recovery drives from Thompson, 31st to 2nd, Haas 21st to 3rd, and Foggy 35th to 5th as well. Unfortunate for Nebelchik that he was caught up in that incident earlier on. But a lot of great drives from further back in the order, and it will be interesting to see where everyone's going to be starting for race 3 and what they can convert those positions into.
Well, we'll see, but classified results are as follows. Sean Gardner goes lights to flag in 15 minutes, 53 seconds. He wins by 7 seconds in the end over Josh Thompson, who started all the way up in 31st position, and he gets a podium for his troubles. Robin Haase gets himself a top 3 after starting this one in 21st place. Steve Hefford just about holding off Nicole Foggy for a 4th place there. Foggy gaining 30 places, the biggest mover in the field, finishes off in 5th. Jamie Ayers gets 6th place with Dan Brown in 7th. James Leggett got himself involved towards the end, 8th place only for him. Niels Carstensen gets 9th, with Julian Janowski rounding out the top 10.
11th place there was Cedric Nabelsiak, who got very unlucky in that incident from what we could see. Then Ashley Beard, Steve Baxter, Johnny Brandon, Rita Van Essen, Adam McNally, Adam Hedgecock, Kip Stevens, Lee Deemer, and Carl Jackalette.
21st place for Joe Mitchell. Chris Daines, who was spun very early on, gets 22nd with Michael Bingham. He just beats him over the line by 9 thousandths of a second. 22nd overall. It's 24th for Anthony Jacobson. He wasn't happy with the way that the racing went, felt that he was egregiously moved out of the way on a number of occasions. 24th for him. Scott Malcolm gets 25th overall. Paul Burgess and Charles Kellyman 26th and 27th, with Jim Flanagan and Martin Sampson 28th and 29th. Craig Harris rounding out the top 30. And following
31st position was Peter Van Goor, following several issues later on in the race. Then it was Benjamin Mears, Dan Blake, Andy Maxwell, and Daniel James. The other drivers finish on the lead lap. And the other 2 drivers who started this race were Andy Woodhouse and Brian James.
Well, Brian J. Holmes there, so it's not quite a Brian James.
Sorry, Brian Holmes. I keep making up people today. My apologies.
Well, it's fine. They will finish 38th or something like that. But what we can't make up is where people will start for the 3rd race, even though there's a big conspiracy that we kind of do. That spinny wheel has had a habit here for race 3s. We'll see if the habit is broken today. We're going to get Marco Barbanera to spin the wheel for the final time for the 30-minute big feature race, round 12 of the championship. We'll keep an eye out on that one then as the wheel spins. Well, it's full -4. So it's not a 10. It's another big reverse grid. A -4 should put Benjamin Mears and co. up towards the front. So we'll see how that one plays out as we step aside for the final time here this evening with Forever Sim Racing as the final round of tonight. Round 12 will come to you after this. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the British Sim Racers TCR Sunday Cup, and brilliant racing action that has been here. A very, very entertaining race too. A runaway victory for Sean Gardner. He'll be very happy with that. And for the first time this season, a big reverse grid in the 30-minute big feature here, as it's Jake Sperry, Caitlin Penny here with Marco Barbanera. On the cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Massive shout out to Forcex Design, who produced the graphics for this, as well as Violet and her music that she's able to produce. You can get that one all on Bandcamp and on Spotify as well, all on Forever Sim Racing. Of course, though, this is race 3. This is double distance, but just as thrilling. And this is what drivers now need to focus on. This is where tough battles come in. The track's cooled down a little bit more. It's down to 22 degrees, so it's very cold at an in-sim time of about just gone 7 o'clock in the evening. This is going to be a tough final race for all of these drivers, Caitlin, because they know that they are itching to get that big result to take the initiative over to Road Atlanta in a week's time.
Yeah, and there's a lot of very, very annoyed drivers at the end of race 2 there. A lot of blaming going on, but whatever the case, I'm sure that will all be sorted out by the stewards at the end of this. It does mean that some of these drivers are going to be racing frustrated. And when you've got a 30-minute race in a touring car and a reverse grid, you do not want to be racing frustrated, especially if you're starting near to the drivers that you're frustrated with. I expect that we could be seeing even more fireworks than usual in this race 3 taking place in just a couple of minutes' time.
Everyone loves a good bit of fireworks. Of course, this final race here will end the 1/3 distance in the championship, and that's going to be very telling for those who are looking to stake a claim and to hope that their season is going to run and be in favour for them. So this is the next question that comes into play here, Caitlin, is the fact that get to the 1/3 distance in the championship. It seems like forever for the fact that everyone's been fighting and there's been a lot of overtaking and battling, and it very much feels like you're staring into a time portal or something. You come back and you're 5 years older or something like that. How difficult is it to keep yourself with a level head in racing like this and think about the bigger picture, which a lot of drivers who get put into a massive, almost war zone-like race seemingly forget?
Oh, it's very important. I mean, a lot of racing, as well as skill, is psychology. Especially with touring cars and very closely matched cars like these, because a lot of the moves that are pulled are through you just getting a psychological edge over your opponent, making them know that you're better than them, or that you are coming through, even when you really can't. You just force them into a mistake, and you're much more likely to make mistakes if you're annoyed, because all the blood's gone away from your head and into your fists and your heart, and you just lose control. So in a situation like this, it's all about just keeping control of yourself, getting your head back, getting your nerve back, taking deep breaths, and even if you've had a horrendous race 1 or race 2, that shouldn't have to sacrifice your race 3 as well, especially when we have a race 3 reverse grid such as this one.
Exactly, and this is where all the big challenges come into play. Some good drives, though, in that one from Boosted and from Momo, but Momo imploded on itself there in race 2. They had 2nd, 3rd and 4th locked up, and those would have been mega points for them in terms of the championship. It all fell apart when they all started battling with each other very quickly. Caitlin, what do they need to do to realise that they aren't playing the team game right?
Really, I think they just have to keep it in mind. When you keep things like that in mind, you're undoubtedly going to do it better in the future. But yeah, no, they were totally beating each other up and losing a lot of time in race 2, and I'm sure they're going to be talking about that between races. But for now, they've just got to keep it in their mind. Got to think, you know, okay, it's fine if I pass my teammate, but I've got to do it cleanly. I can't try to be a hero or do anything stupid. Otherwise, not gonna go well if I make a mistake.
No, it certainly isn't. And with time expired then in the final practice of the night here on an October evening, here at Donington Park. This is how the grid is going to stack up with a 1 minute quick fire grid for you at full -4 in terms of how this stacks up. Benjamin Mears will be on pole position with Peter Van Gool alongside. Craig Harris and Martin Sampson start 3rd and 4th. Jim Flanagan and Charles Kellyman are 5th and 6th, with Paul Burgess and Scott Malcolm on the 4th row. Row 5 will see Anthony Jacobson and Michael Bingham, with Chris Daines and Joe Mitchell on row 6. Row 7 sees Carl Jackalette and Lee Deemer, Kip Stevens and Adam Hedgecock in 15th and 16th. Then you got McNally, Van Essen, Brandon and Baxter, with Beard, Nabelshek, Janowski and Carson, Leggett, Brown, Ayers, Foggy, then Hefford, Haase, Thompson, Gardiner, and then Blake, Maxwell, James Woodhouse, and Adam Bass made it to the final race. He will start this one from the back in 37th position overall. So a minute to grid, or you start from that place known as Pit Road, and there is just a little wait for one more driver to get up onto the grid, and that is Anthony Jacobson at the moment, and he's got 4 seconds, 3, 2, 1, and he will miss the start overall. So lights on top of the iRacing gantry. 30 minutes, final race of the night is underway here at Donington Park. It's slow from Mears, it's quick from Van Gool, who's got a good one, but behind that, Craig Harris is even better, but a great second phase of acceleration there for Mears. Puts him side by side as they go into turn 1, but he's a lot earlier on the brakes, and straight through goes Van Gool. Has he been able to check it up? No, he hasn't, so Mears able to fight this one back all the way. Burgess fighting in the middle of the pack, no dramas to speak of a little bit further down the order, but Mears has held on to the race lead as they head down the Craner curves for the first time in 30 minutes, gets a bit of grass. Van Gool then trying to get through, and look at Craig Harris, going to try and take 2 for the price of 1 as they go up towards Starkey's Bridge and now over towards the next corner. That one, of course, being the brilliant corner of McLean's. Down the inside they look, and there's a spin behind, big spin!
And I think Nabelshek may be out already as well, as Craig Harris is now going off, making contact with another driver. But yeah, I believe that our championship leader, Nabelshek, is out of the race already. He had to start from the pit lane because he missed the start. We got a caution flag now. And indeed, Nabelshek was actually hit on pit exit, and he's now completely exited out. So I'm afraid, even this early in the race, we've lost our championship leader.
Yeah, and a big caution there. 4 or 5 vehicles getting caught out then in the early stages. So a safety car on the opening lap then here at round 12 of the championship. So it's going to be a very tough challenge here to go forward. So that's going to be a tough one to deal with. But it is going to be Peter Van Gool then who picks up the race. Sorry, it's Benjamin Mears who was in the race lead, so a few crashes. So Van Gool leads, Sampson second, Mears then in third. It's Chris Daines in 4th position, and Paul Burgess rounding out the top 5. We are under safety car here at Donington Park, so that's not going to be brilliant. The load cell broke for Cedric Nabelshek, so that could be a big issue for him as he has a technical disaster off of that start, and that's not going to be what he was looking for.
Yeah, and that's going to cost him a couple of points. He did relatively well in races 1 and 2, so it's not going to be a complete disaster in terms of the championship. But still, it's certainly not going to help him. He will still come out of this round in the lead of the championship, whatever happens, I believe. Although it may well be closer between him and Foggy, and maybe even Haas as well, depending on how Haas can do. He's already made it up into 22nd place from 30th on the grid, and Nicole Foggy actually is up to 12th from 28th on the grid. So a couple of big jumpers at the start of the race, but it's still Van Gool leading from Sampson and Mears.
Well, crucially, it only had half a lap to deal with the battle, and Cedric Nabelshek now, who will not get points from this one after not making it to the start after the load cell broke, now gives Nicole Foggy here in the championship a massive kick to say, you've got 30 minutes, now it's time to push hard and gain as many positions as possible. And get how many positions he gained in the opening lap. He got 16 of them. He's already up into 12th. I put Foggy as favourite right now.
Oh, he's definitely one of them. Of course, we've got a longer race in this race 3, and effectively starting from 12th position because of that. He's in a good position. You know, if he can make up 16 places in one lap, he could theoretically be in the lead by the end of this next lap. It really depends on how he does it. I believe, I actually can't see the safety car at the minute, but I believe that the safety car lights are out, so we will be getting...
No, they are on.
Okay, so we get another lap behind safety car. My apologies. Not sure that Van Gore was expecting it though, because it looked to me as if he was backing up and getting ready to get going again. Van Gore, of course, if he can hold that position, which is definitely possible. Remember, he's not really that much slower than these drivers around him in terms of pace. He could definitely be a contender here, as could pretty much everyone around him. That's the beauty of this roulette grid. Although you have to say that Foggy is going to be a good contender on this restart.
Certainly will be, but the lights now off on top of the iRacing Porsche first safety car. You normally get yourself 3 laps under iRacing manual cautions like these, so that will be a very tough challenge for them. They will go green this next time by Van Gool from Martin Sampson and Benjamin Mears in third. Then it's Danes, Burgess, Malcolm, Jackalette, Bingham, Johnny Brandon in ninth, Steve Baxter in 10th, Lee Deemer 11th, and Nicole Foggy 12th. So V-Racer, talk about a team's championship right now. Let's also remember that this Nebelshek's load cell breaking also affects the team's championship, because now in this final race, RSO are only scoring here, Caitlin, very quickly, 2 points, or 2 drivers worth of points instead of 3.
Very true. It's going to cost them, and they were very close in championship with VX Racer as well. Sorry, XV Racer, wrong way around. So we'll have to see how that sorts itself out after this round. I think Team RSO may still have the lead, although it's going to be closer, I expect.
It is going to be closer, but Lee Deemer is very, very slow and needs to chase up the pack. They're all trying to deal with their tyres, and they're almost at a standstill under Starkey's bridge then as they try and go through. And Lee Deemer has been overtaken by Nicole Foggy to try and just make a point here as they go through. So Lee Deemer, I think, has got admin powers as well. So he's been having a look at everything that's gone on, and I think trying to deal with a lot of things, and he's lost a position because of it as they go on forwards. But it is going to be Peter Van Gool then, who is in control of the field, which is very disjunct at the moment, and we'll see how that one plays out in the long run then, as Lee Deemer again still slow, but I think getting up to speed now. Pace car will dive in, so a little bit of worries then going on as they make their way to the next section. Van Gool will have control of the field to get themselves back to green flag running at the next stage then of this one. They've knocked off 3 laps off the clock. It's lap 4 as we go back to going, and Van Gool's got to check and wait, because that pace car goes. There's the green flag as the pace car dives down onto pit road, and Van Gool gets them underway. Sampson second, Mears third, and fourth position. Blinking in and out there was Chris Danes, and still there Chris Danes as they go through. It's nice and clean then for the front four as well. Goodness.
And they're both going off at the front. Van Gool and Sampson are both. Oh my word, we've got 4 drivers in the gravel at the front there, just misjudging it on colder tyres, I expect. And that puts Benjamin Mears through to the. No, it doesn't, because he's been passed on the restart by. Is that Paul Burgess?
It is. Paul Burgess leads then, and just like that, 4 come together as they came in, and that was Van Gool going too deep. 1, 2, 3, 4 drivers all going too deep at turn 1, misjudging how the tyres would react. They went off, they went cold. They've got to bring them back together again. Mears under pressure now as Michael Bingham tries to get the optical car up into 3rd place. Burgess leads this one. 4th now is Carl Jackalette, and Baxter and Foggy and Brandon are 5th, 6th and 7th at the moment, having absolutely kittens at this stage, seeing just how good this race is falling for them. Mears under pressure. Here's Michael Bingham down the inside as they get to the final corner, and can he slow it up? Yes, they can, and now the pack have caught.
Yeah, Bingham's jumped up about 5, 6, 7 places on that lap.
Oh,
someone's diving into the. Foggy's in the pit, and I tell you what, that'll be a penalty for overtaking Deemer under safety car. Him and Kellyman both overtook Deemer under safety car, so I would be surprised if Kellyman didn't also get a penalty for that. That's very, very surprising, because Deemer was going so slow, and no one really knew whether to overtake him or not. Meanwhile, Bingham and Mears almost went side by side through the corner curves there. That could have ended in disaster. They've got Carl Jackalette right in their tail as well. He's finished 20th in both of the races so far, and wants to make up more positions in the car with very bright lime fluorescent wheels.
And look at this, Danny is, oh, he thought about it there, but Bingham was wise to it. This allows Jackalette here the chance to attack Benjamin Mears, who should have been defending when he was attacking. Just like that, Schrodinger's overtake goes the wrong way, and thank you, there's one. Baxter will want to make it 2, and then 3 will try Johnny Brandon, try and get this one working. So this is big in terms of how this one plays out as they all battle Mr. Burgess. Paul Burgess leads this one and has a bit of a gap. But on the brakes they go into the right. Baxter, oh no, he's around. Steve Baxter's around, and now he's got to reverse this one to get himself off the racing line. He'll lose a dozen places. It was looking so good for XV Racer. It's starting to fall apart.
It really is, and I'm afraid he's only got himself to blame for that, just braking slightly too late and going into the side of his rival there through turn 1. But at the end of another lap of racing, it's Burgess followed by Bingham, Jackalette, Mears, Brandon, Danes, Malcolm, Diemer, and then Stevens and Sampson, the top 10. However, I'm not sure quite why I bothered reading that, because surely by the end of this lap it's going to change again. Diemer is under pressure from Stevens. Whoa, that's Sampson going off and into the grass, and he's going to lose places to Kellyman, Janowski, Carstensen, and Ayres and all of that. Daniel Brown coming through as well. Big mistake from Sampson, and that's put him well out of the top 10.
It has put them outside of the top 10. That's not ideal at all, and that allows a lot of drivers then to gain positions, and more will come along as Dan Brown, I think, has a slowdown here. That will allow Sampson the chance to get back through. Robin Haase on the back of that as well. Where is Nicole Foggy in all of this? He's right back at the back of the pack, and he's trying to fight his way right from dead last. He's got James Leggett first that he's got to try and get through, so he's got a lot of work to pull everyone back in. But at the front, Paul Burgess being chased down in by Michael Bingham here in second, Carl Jackalette third, Johnny Brandon fourth, Chris Danes rounds out the top 5 for the moment as Ayres and Janowski go at it together, and Janowski gives no room, contact, round you go, and Janowski tried to close the door on Ayres. Ayres had nowhere to go. You have to put that one on Janowski. Ayres has done well to get out of that as wide goes, I think that's Sampson there as well. Yes, it is, and loses a whole boatload of positions as through trying to get through all of this is Steve Baxter, along with Andrew Woodhouse going through.
Oh, and Diemer is off again, as he know that's Scott Malcolm, who was alongside of him, and he may be about to get passed from behind as well by Charles Kellyman. Also on that last lap, Benjamin Mears had a slight off and lost 2 positions. Oh.
But look for third for a moment here, Caitlin. Sorry to cut you off like that, because Johnny Brandon started thinking about attacking. The top 5 are closing in on each other once again. And now Jackalette and Bingham have got to sort their battle out, or Johnny Brandon, who always has a plan, will want to battle. But remember, Johnny Brandon behind's got to be careful about Danes, who's blinking in and out, and he runs way too deep into the corner. A lot slower is Carl Jackalette. It's a lot tougher to race like this. And now look at Chris Danes. He's bumping him down the straight, saying, come on, you got to get going, because there's Mears and Diemer in the background, all wants to get through. Dane's thinking about going to the outside of Johnny Brandon. He's not going to get the move.
So at the end of that lap, still it's very close for 1, 2, and 3. Bingham is definitely catching Burgess, and he's bringing Jackalette with him. And Jackalette here would be wise to just sit behind Bingham going through the Craner curves and not try to unsettle him through there, as he's just going to end up costing himself or both of them time and allow Burgess to get away in the distance. However, he wants to go for it now, so he's going to take a look to the outside, which will then turn into the inside for turn 7 there at McLean's, and behind him as well, Brandon and Danes going side by side for 4th position, which they were gifted by Mears' little off a couple of laps ago, and it looks like Danes is going to take that for the meantime. They're still side by side on the exit of Coppice, and look at Mears now getting involved as well.
That was a good up and under there from Johnny Brandon, having to deal with some very difficult blinking there, and another blink as they head into the final chicane. This is tough for Johnny Brandon to fight against, because Chris Danes, he will not know where he is, and he'll be guessing essentially where his rival is out on track. That's never going to be helpful. Your top 6 split by a second and a half as they head towards the halfway stage. Danes gets the move done at turn 1 as the battle for the race lead hots up, as Michael Bingham had to think about getting down the inside of Paul Burgess. Couldn't quite think about it. Jackalette there in 3rd position, thinking about how does he make the move. Behind that, though, Charles Kellyman under pressure from Niels Carstensen. Behind him, Robin Haase. The Rennsport boys trying to get as much as they can back here in this race, and they've just got away past Kellyman. Both of them getting it done down the Craners.
And again, Jackalette was challenging Bingham there, and it looked as if there was going to be a change, and there may be because they've got Chris Danes and Johnny Brandon right on their tail now as well, along with Benjamin Mears, who will feel pretty robbed and will want to get back into that position. Now out of Coppers, and surely there's going to be at least one change here heading down towards the chicane. Burgess needs to be aware that he's got that car of Michael Bingham
You go.
directly behind him, going to the right-hand side towards the chicane. They're going to come together. Are they very, very close? Good avoiding action there from Bingham. Knew he wasn't going to make it and backed out of it. And now,
Look at
slight
Danes.
contact.
Look at Danes. He's thinking about making it 3 wide. He was thinking about going to the inside. He's got a lane here on Carl Jackalette, who's the latest on the brakes. And it is definitely Michael Bingham as he gets that position into second. And they fight on the exit, a bit of door-to-door as they go down through Hollywood. And the crane occurs once again. Jackalette on the outside lets Johnny Brandon go through. So he drops back into 5th place. This allows Mears and Kip Stevens onto the train as well now as they continue to scrap, going down the hill and continuing to try and gain positions. Oh, there's no room there, Chris Danes. You can't get past Bingham like that. Did he cop a slow down for it? Doesn't look like it as he gets on the brakes into the right at McLean.
That was very, very close there. He can't afford to make mistakes like that too often. He's now got Johnny Brandon right over his tail.
car around with Scott Malcolm. Sorry, I just caught that. It's Robin Haase who's around there. And now all at Coppers as Haase tried to make the move.
Yeah, and Robin Haase, and someone else is out there as well, and dropping well back. But anyway, yeah, he's not going to be feeling very happy after that one. Of course, one of our most competitive drivers in this league.
There goes Johnny Brandon up into 2nd position, and Danes is going to follow up into 3rd. So Burgess now 1 vehicle in between, and here comes Chris Danes, going to try and battle this one down to the outside and try and get up and under. Is he? Not quite.
So that means that Bingham has just lost 2 positions there. He's down into 4th position, as I believe we saw what happened to Robin Haase last time around. But whatever the case, out through the old hairpin again, and I'd be surprised if they finish this lap in the same order that we're witnessing them in now. It seems that Burgess is acting as a little bit of a bottleneck here. No one quite able to make their way through, and realistically, it doesn't really matter that much what order the drivers are in behind him. It's all about who can get through first. So the drivers may even do a bit of swapping around and see if someone can unsettle them. But at this point in the race, Burgess is the most important driver. Here comes Brandon to the outside, the inside again for the chicane, and jumps over the curb and through. And look at that excellent move from Chris Danes, and he might get both of them because he's got an excellent run out of the corner. And now they're almost going 3 wide for 2nd up towards turn 1. Danes now looks to the outside of Brandon, and Burgess taking a look to the inside of Bingham. Bingham round the outside for 3rd. It's all it's well and truly open anyone's game here for positions 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, so forth. My goodness, push me over with a lethargic canary. This is close.
It is, and Danes again having a look is right in the back. Dan Brown gets past Ben Mears and moves up a position just. Burgess still under pressure here, and they risk losing these two who are rushing away at the front. Brandon and Danes as they go through, and again, great battling. They've been side by side for half a lap between them right now, and there's nowhere for anyone else to go. Jackalette's early on the brakes, and that checks everyone up as Bingham again takes the wide line, but again, good run off the exit by Paul Burgess. He's got Michael Bingham's number. They've gone almost an entire lap side by side with each other. Where does Jackalette go in all of this? Does he decide he wants to throw it down inside again? Has to play the waiting game, and Burgess finally deep on the brakes gets what he wants, and that's a position. Bingham runs wide, and he'll be freight train. And there's contact with the RSO car there. Carstensen does well to stay out of the wall, but just like that, he'll lose 2 positions, and where no matter where you look, it's just a battle again and again and again, and this is touring car racing.
Yeah, you can see how much damage Lee Dima has to the front right of his car. He's had that for a while. And those are the battle scars of a close and furious touring car race. Pretty much everyone did well not to come together there. And I think lesser drivers would have done. But anyway, as we stream up towards the old hairpin again, Carstensen on the outside of Mears. We've seen that not working a couple of times so far today as drivers have run wide and onto the the grass there. Dima and Brown may be about to come together as they're side by side through McLean, and Bingham going very sideways further back, and he's now going to start another bottleneck.
Bingham, there's a turn. It's Craig Harris who goes into the gravel, just avoids it actually there on the outside of Coppice, and that really did not play into the hands very nicely there between the pair of them, and they'll work hard to try and get through. The two Evolution cars come together in Bath and Woodhouse. They survive each other, and they try and get past Charles Kellyman. This is right on the back of this pack, fighting for the final spot on the podium. Brandon and Danes are away by a long margin, and look at this. Where do you go if you're an Excite Energy car? Lee Dima trying to think about getting to the inside of Kip Stevens, and so is Dan Brown. They're 3 wide into 1. Brown gets out of it. Dima gets the turn after the tap on Kip Stevens, and will lose half a dozen spots because of one error.
Yeah, Dima's going to lose even more spots too, I think, as we've got more drivers streaming through. That's Steve Baxter, Andrew Woodhouse, Adam Barth. They're all coming past him now in slight contact with Adam Barth there.
That was Woodhouse.
With Woodhouse there, and that could have ended in even more tears. Although luckily they've all got through relatively safely from that.
They've done very well, and there's Dan Blake trying to think about getting in on that as well, and that very nearly ended in disaster. Still Paul Burgess, though, in 3rd position, is holding off some very esteemed company here. You've got Baxter, you've got the likes of Carstensen, Dan Brown, Kip Stevens, all of whom have been up as top 10 caliber drivers and are in the top 10 of this championship. Now, just behind that, Dan Blake's under pressure. Here's Robin Haase trying to get on the recovery drive, as we're soon going to be 10 minutes to go here in this race at Donington Park, and Haase comfortably gets the move that he wants, and I think he's getting 2 for 1 here on Andrew Woodhouse. I think he is around outside, but now with just 10 minutes to go, 1.2 seconds for Johnny Brandon. He's going to now try and check out.
Also, Woodhouse and Haas side by side heading onto another lap. Blake and Thompson going at it behind them and getting through okay. So it's still everyone for every position.
Baxter! Oh, wow! Wow, big netco contact between them, and Baxter sideways down the Craner curves, and he's lost a whole boatload of positions again.
And he's in the gravel trying to return to the circuit. Let's hope he can do it cleanly. It's a difficult part to rejoin the course, as I found out last time I raced at Donington Park. There's no one around him, so he should be able to do that okay. And someone else, I think, has just gone off ahead of him as well, because I saw a lot of tyre smoke. So it's all chopping and changing at that part of the order. And now look at, oh my word, Kip Stevens side by side with Carl Jacquelet for 4th position.
Oh, but look at Jacquelet. Oh, he's made contact there with Paul Burgess, and Burgess now is going to be slow with maybe a slow down penalty. They're going to be 3 wide here over the start-finish line. Stevens on the outside, Jacquelet in the middle, Burgess on the inside, who's trying to defend it with as much as he's got. Dan Brown, and look at that wide from Carstensen behind you. Really big lifts off, because he knew there was going to be contact, and there was. And then 3 wide going down to the Craner curves. You're mad! You're mad as they go through. Have they survived? Yes, they've survived. Somehow they've survived. And just like that, Dan Brown might just reap the rewards for it. Jacquelet goes too deep on the brakes. Can he slow it up? No, he can't. He'll lose the positions. Dan Brown rewarded with 4th place, and Burgess is somehow still 3rd. What?
Absolutely wonderful. Drivers throwing dirt up into the air. Oh, Jacquelet there, almost touching Stevens. I thought Stevens was going to have to run over the grass on the inside of McLean, although he's managed to keep it on the line. Now under attack from Carstens, and someone else is running off in the background there. Sorry?
It's Josh Thompson who's run off, and this is not going to be good on the rejoin. He's got to be careful, and look who's in that pack. It is Nicole Foggy on the recovery, and you can see just how much of a Piccadilly circus it is, as he's going to think about going 3 wide. You're not going to get past Adam Barth like that as you continue to battle, so they're going to continue to go at it. Down on the brakes they go, almost 3 wide in this mid-pack scrap. This is surely going to end in disaster for someone, and ultimately it doesn't. But look at Foggy's run off of the exit. He's going to get 2, maybe even a 3rd if he's lucky as he goes through. Nicole Foggy on a massive run as they battle for 3rd. Contact for Carstensen as he taps to the back of Kip Stevens. But look at this, Burgess under pressure, Dan Brown trying to go through, and Burgess makes the error and drops 2 places for his troubles on the brakes into the old hairpin.
through the old hairpin to the exit, and still it's Carstensen going at it with Muse and Stevens there for 6th, 7th, and 8th positions. You don't really know where to look because this whole race is just made up of various chains of cars pushing each other through the corners, scrapping for position, and sometimes, unfortunately, crashing into each other. Now we've got Carstensen taking a little look to the inside of Stevens there, and it seems that Mias wasn't quite expecting that. He's now backed out of that and maybe under pressure from Michael Bingham, who's still holding on nicely in 9th position and keeping in this fight as we head through the chicane again and out onto the Wheatcroft straight for another time of asking. It seems that Carl Jacala has just claimed 4th from Burgess there.
Mistake for Martin Sampson as well. So Carl Jackalette then up into 4th place. We saw that move happen. Nicole Foggy then gets himself another one as there's a slowdown penalty for Adam Barth, and that will drop him back to the train. Nicole Foggy came in, made a pit stop, a penalty decision after the safety car, and he's got himself back inside to 16th place at the moment. If that's not recovery, I don't know what is. He's trying to make the most out of a bad situation, but the good news for him is the train to 3rd continues all the way, and there is a battle every which way you look. Here's Ashley Beard trying to get down the inside of Andrew Woodhouse, and can Woody fight this one up at McLean's? He can, and he block passes fantastically through that section, which really kills the run for Ashley Beard up the hill. In front of them, there's the battle and almost contact. In fact, there was between Dima and Michael Bingham as they go side by side. Bingham's in the grass, and he will lose 1, 2, 3 places. Oh, how close you want to leave it there, Mr. Ayers, as he now attacks Ashley Beard and tries to get the move every which way. There's a new battle forming, and he can't get it done.
Mace in the gravel, he's going to have to take a slowdown penalty, I expect. He rejoins the circuit. He went absolutely miles off the road there. Also in the background, we've got 2 cars side by side, and it's Bingham and Foggy. So Foggy making up a place, going to the outside and trying to sweep around. That's nicely done from Nicole Foggy. It was quite an unfair penalty, actually, because when you have a car moving that slowly under safety car, it really does send mixed messages to the car behind, and they don't know whether they're being let through or whether they are being expected to still hang back or whatever. So I think Foggy there was quite unlucky, and I'm not really sure what Dima was doing, but whatever the case, they continue on their way. Foggy is continuing his fantastic recovery drive.
He is. Fair or unfair, it was iRacing system penalties, which really is struggling to overturn. Burgess runs wide on his contact. 1, 2, 3, RSO car goes around, and that's going to be Niels Carstensen. He'll drop a handful of positions. One of them is Nicole Foggy, who gets by. So Niels Carstensen drops 10 places after he runs wide with Burgess and also with Benjamin Mears as they're going through. Mears again trying to battle. Robin Haase can't find the gap. Can't find a way through. Train again stacks up. Wide goes Ayers, and that is going to cost him a position. And Foggy gets another one as he moves up forward. He's now up into, get this, up into 13th place as he continues to find a way through. There's Andrew Woodhouse down the inside of Lee Dima. He's got that one sorted. And get this, we've only got 4 minutes to go, and Johnny Brandon's checked out 3 seconds for the race lead.
Yeah, he's going to have a very healthy buffer at this point. In fact, the gap between 2nd and 3rd is even bigger. It's almost 9 seconds now. Oh!
Wow, good save. Great save there from Mears, I believe it was there, who's done well to keep it at the old hairpin. He'll lose a lot of time, but he's crucially kept the car running, which is key. Another position then for Nicole Foggy as Josh Thompson dives down the inside of Ashley Beard, and Foggy's going to try and follow him through here, and he's going to follow him through.
Oh,
now
contact. Oh, my word. Mears, they're getting... Sorry, Mears getting tipped sideways and going into the side of another driver further back. So
and Gardner's around.
The contact continues, and Gardner's spun, yeah.
So that was a big chain reaction, and a massive hole developed, and then Steve Baxter couldn't find a way through it, so Gardner got tapped and then got turned around, and that is a big mid-pack as they continue to go at it. Robin Haase trying to get through on Paul Burgess, and I think he is going to be able to get that move done. Is he? Yes, he is. On the brakes they go into turn 1. Burgess is going to try and run it in deep, and has he got enough on the exit? Or he's going to try and keep it side by side, but I think Haase has just about got it sorted. Yes, he has. So up a position he goes, and Andrew Woodhouse wants in next and wants the next position. Nicole Foggy, Ashley Beard, Jamie Ayres all there wanting to gain those positions as well as they go on the brakes into this next section. No chance yet of making a move up towards McLean's, but Paul Burgess, you have to give a hat off for how good he's been on defence.
Yeah, totally. And to be honest, I thought it was a bit too good going into turn one there. Oh, as he loses a couple of places into McLean. But yeah, I was expecting to any second see Robin Haas get tipped sideways and spin around like a spinning top.
Oh, no!
Oh, contact from behind and around
House and
almost goes
Thompson.
Burgess.
And they're 4 wide technically coming through this section, and that was all down to a couple bits of contact there. Josh Thompson and co. And guess who's out smelling of roses once again? It's Nicole Foggy, who's found his way through on Dima, Ayers and Beard into the chicane with 2 laps to go here at Donington Park. And just like that, Nicole Foggy is actually legitimately staring down at a great top 10 finish. He's in 8th place at the moment, and he could get one more out of Paul Burgess. Good run off of the exit there of turn 1 Redgate, but you have to wait here all the way down the crane of curves, and maybe out of the old hairpin might just be his place.
I think it's pretty clear that if Foggy hadn't had that penalty, he could have challenged for the win of this race. He's now right up behind Burgess. Oh, he's on the grass, and Foggy gets tipped sideways. He's gonna keep it off the grass on the exit, more or less. And side by side with him, Dima goes around the outside. The driver who he passed to pick up that penalty, also going through, is Ashley Beard there on the inside of McLean's, who thinks better of it. Thompson trying to go around the outside in the background. Not sure how Thompson's still in 13th place. He's been spinning and sliding more than anyone else in this race, and almost around there goes
Beard. It was Ashley Beard who almost went around. White flag comes out for Johnny Brandon. 1 lap to go. Josh Thompson wants a move down on Jamie Ayres here at this next section. Not going to get it, but now Nicole Foggy needs 2 places. The battle's up in front. They are non-existent here. Johnny Brandon has walked away from Danes, and they both walked away from the rest of the field. Robin Haas are not close enough, but here is Nicole Foggy on the outside of Lee Dima. How deep do you go, Lee? As there on the inside, another little tap from Josh Thompson, trying not to be Bush Thompson as he goes through. And has he got any looks to go through? They're going to remain too wide. They're Noah's Ark down Craner for the 2nd time today. And Nicole Foggy again is going to try the outside line. Oh, he's just got enough room. Thompson gets his move done. Ayres going to try and come back at him as Nicole Foggy now still on the inside here. And Lee Dima, who's got the inside up at McLean's. That's very, very crucial for the way that this one is going to go. And he's got the move and he's got it sorted. Here's Johnny Brandon, though, coming through the final chicane. And he picks up the win for XV Racer. Just how he wanted it. Johnny Brandon always has a plan, and he wins it in the safety car dictated 3rd race here at Donington Park. Chris Dane 2nd, Dan Brown will get 3rd. It's on for 4th as Carl Jacquelet and Kip Stevens go at it together, but Jacquelet for year 1 is just about going to hold on to it then, as Kip Stevens couldn't do enough. Robin Haas will get sick contact in the background, and that's going to be Thompson and Dima, and now it's a fanned out finish as they all look for the line. Thompson's going to drop right to the back of the pack, and there's some freebies there. There was side by side between Dima and Woodhouse, and Dima steals the top 10 by 0.003 of a second. If that's not racing, I don't know what is.
My goodness, what a finish. They were even crashing and going off the road right up into the line. Some people may have even the finish line off the road there. A hugely unpredictable race all the way through, and incredibly the top 7 finishers started outside of the top 10. Johnny Brandon has won this race from 19th on the grid. That is absolutely incredible there. And Robin Haas there, despite the incidents, is 6th place from 30th on the grid. That is absolutely incredible. And the top driver who started within the top 10, you have to give credit as well to Paul Burgess for his defense. He did a great job there as well. So at the end of all of that, I think it's pretty much impossible to pick a driver of the day out of all of this. So I'm going to say probably Nicole Foggy.
Well, some brilliant drives up and down this field, and what great results we've seen. But this is classified results then from Donington Park here at the National Circuit, and this is how things have ended up. Johnny Brandon picks up the win, 30 minutes, 35 seconds. He wins by 4 seconds in the end over Chris Danes, with Dan Brown picking up 3rd place in the XV Racing Machine. Carl Jacquelet will take 4th as he holds off Kip Stevens to the line. Robin Haas, the best of the RSO cars, in 6th place. Nicole Foggy, drive-through penalty for passing under the safety car. iRacing penalty only for him. 7th place overall. Paul Burgess will pick up an 8th place finish with some brilliant defending. Ashley Beard will get 9th, and Lee Deemer rounds the top 10.
11th place after all of that was Andrew Woodhouse from 36th on the grid. Then it was Martin Sampson, Jamie Ayres, Josh Thompson, Steve Baxter, Niels Carstensen. Pole sitter Benjamin Mears could only manage 17th position after all of that. Then it was Dan Blake, Adam Bath, and Charles Kellyman, P20.
You talk about some drivers who didn't have a good start. Craig Harris was one of them in 22nd, but Jim Flanagan as well started 5th back to 21st. Craig Harris started 3rd back to 22nd. Sean Gardner got turned around in that race. He gets 23rd with Adam Hedgecock 24th, and James Leggett makes it a trio of Booze Ted Machine finished 25th place, exactly where he started. Wouter van Essen gets 26th with Dan James in 27th. Joe Mitchell, Andy Maxwell, and Scott Malcolm round the top 30.
31st position was Anthony Jacobson, followed by Julian Janowski, Steve Hefford, and then the drivers who did not finish on the lead lap of the race were Michael Bingham, Peter Van Gool, who crashed out of the lead, of course, very, very guttingly, Adam McNally, and Cedric Nebelzak, who didn't even make it out of the pit lane.
Didn't, because of a broken load cell at the worst possible time. It happens to the best of them. So that is how everything finishes off then in terms of racing. But Caitlin, some final thoughts then as we take ourselves away from racing here at Donington Park and we head to Road Atlanta in 1 week's time.
I love this series, the BSR TCR series. It's just, you don't know what's going to happen in any race. The order is almost a lottery sometimes, but it is absolutely fantastic to watch. As a commentator, as a spectator, as a driver, you're never bored. Put it that way. It may not be the cleanest racing at times, although they give it their best shot, and you have to say it is hugely entertaining. Road Atlanta, bring it on.
Road Atlanta, bring it on indeed. And you can catch that in 1 week's time here on Forever Sim Racing. Make sure that you keep your eyes out for that one, as well as the big people who have got it done for us. And they include Force X Designs, who have been crucial on the graphics. Violet, for the music that you've heard, you can catch her stuff on Bandcamp or on Spotify. And of course, a massive thanks to everyone who's been here in watching this one as well. That is Marco Barbanera behind the cameras. That, of course, is Caitlin Penny to my left-hand side. I have been Jake Sperry, and it's 3 different winners once again. It is a massive shift in the momentum of this championship. And could this championship be decided by one broken load cell pedal? Well, Cedric Nebelzak, you've got a lot of work to bring back all those missed points, because Nicole Foggy, even in the face of disaster, has been able to pull back a massive chunk of points. We'll see you in 1 week's time for rounds 13 to 15 at Road Atlanta.